Hi everyone, and welcome to video number 19 on the American West. And this is the first in the third and the final section of our GCSE course, and this is looking at the years 1876 to 1895. Excuse me, almost 20 years. Now this first video, it's to do with the continued settlement, the change, the progress, the technological ideas, the new developments. The video will be in three parts. Number one, we'll look at farming. Two, we'll look at ranching. And finally, the third, we'll look at continued settlement. So, farming, new methods. Part of this, ladies and gentlemen, we've already had a quick look at in video number 13. Please feel free to go back and have a look at that. So, let's have a start. Farming. The first thing, dry farming. The rain in Spain stays mainly in the plain. Bum, 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 bum. Yeah, it might rain in Spain on the plain, but it didn't particularly rain too much on the United States Great Plains. Therefore, when a homesteader in Dakota, a man called Hardy Campbell in 1879, when he developed a new method of trapping rainwater in the soil, giving the plants, the crops, the access to that water. It worked very well with wheat. And apart from severe droughts in the 1890s, dry farming meant real progress, particularly into the early 20th century. It meant that they could grow more crops and therefore make more money. So that's one of the new methods, dry farming. The second, again, check back to video 13, Turkey red wheat. Immigrants from Russia brought across tough crops that had worked well in their land, worked well where there was not much rain, not much water, and the Turkey red grew well on the plains, which would then attract more farmers and more settlement. So new methods are helping increase the settlement onto the plains. The next one, new technology. The wind pumps, invented by a man called Daniel Halliday, and it was able to access the water that was deep under the ground, often 400 meters deep. Now, at first, they were made from the towers driving the wind pumps were wooden. The blades were wooden. Now, they obviously sometimes didn't work very well. Later, they were replaced by steel, allowing water for both the farmers and the ranchers. Leads us to that old joke. What did the wind pump say to the inventor? I don't know. What did the wind pump say to the inventor? I'm a big fan of your work. Way! Apologies. So, wind pumps is the first technology. The second one, barbed wire, 1874, Joseph Glidden overcame the problem of shortage of wood. Not enough wood for wooden fences? No problem. Use barbed wire. Now, at first, it was very expensive and it would rust. Later on, as the technology improved, they would solve the problem of rust by coating the wire. And also, the more they produced, the cost went down. Therefore, it's used by more people. So barbed wire was the second new development which helped to increase settlement. It's like those two old men building a fence. The first man says, shall we take the barbed wire away? The second man says, no, you clown. The first man says, oh, there's no need to take offence. Sorry, I think that's the last joke. I should hope so. The third new technology was mechanization, seed drills, which automatically put the seeds in at the correct depth to access the water, using technology to create better crops. Also, I've mentioned the steel blades for the wind pumps. Also, there were steel ploughs, threshers, balers, reapers, all new equipment, which all helped the farmers. Now, the railway was there to move all of this big, heavy equipment Great news, settlement is increasing, manifest destiny, the American government is happy because the US economy is improving. It's all about the Yankee dollar, ladies and gentlemen. So that's the first section, farming. Second one, changes in the cattle industry. Again, we've had a look at this in the past, just to refresh our memory. One of the problems in the cattle industry was overstocking. Too many cattle led to overgrazing, and the price would drop. If you've got too much of something, the price goes down. Therefore, there would be less profit for the cattlemen and the ranchers. If you link that into 1886, 1887, an absolutely disastrous winter, freezing cold, so much so that the cattlemen referred to it as the Great Die-Up. Many cattlemen, many ranchers went bankrupt. It was the end of the open range. Instead, smaller ranches came about, smaller herds of cattle. They were concentrating more on quality rather than quantity. More manageable herd. Also, of course, you're reducing the supply. If there's fewer cattle available, the price will go up, ladies and gentlemen, more profitable. So again, we see the cattle industry overcoming some of the problems in the same way that the farming industry did. Now, our third and possibly the most important part of the video, all new stuff, ladies and gentlemen. We are looking at continued settlement. Two key events. The first one was known as the Exoduster movement, 1879. The second one, the Oklahoma Land Rush, 1889 to 1895. Well, let's have a look at the first one, the Exoduster. What's that all about? It's a bit of a strange word. Well, it's to do with the movement or migration of 40,000 Black Americans from the southern states of America. And they are moving to the state of Kansas. Key question, ladies and gentlemen. Why? Why are they moving? Why are they escaping? Well, here's the reasons. The Exodusters. We can see there are 6 reasons, ladies and gentlemen, to explain the movement of the Exodusters. Some of these we are calling push factors, reasons that are pushing these people out of where they were living. Others we are calling pull factors, drawing them or pulling towards the new place for them to live. Push and pull factors, pushing out of the south, pulling towards Kansas. Now, the E, as I said, Black Americans in the southern states, they were ex-slaves. After the Civil War, yes, slavery has been abolished. But despite this new idea of equality, that was not really the reality. Many blacks in the southern states were still treated badly. So when a rumour starts to get spread that the federal government is giving all of the state of Kansas to ex-slaves, which wasn't true, by the way, but once that rumour spread, many people, over 40,000, decided to move. They are being pulled towards Kansas, pushed away from the southern states. The E, ex-slaves. S, Singleton. Now, he was an individual, ladies and gentlemen, Benjamin Singleton, an ex-slave. He set up in Kansas, and what did he do? He took out newspaper adverts to attract others. Can you see what he's doing? He's drawing people towards Kansas. Other people got involved and did exactly the same, a man called Henry Adams. So individuals play a part in the Exoduster movement. The third one, the C, continued oppression. If they stayed in the southern states, ladies and gentlemen, their lives did not really improve, the black Americans. So they thought, let's take a chance. Let's move to Kansas. Things might be better. Continued oppression, pushing them out of the South. The A, against slavery. Kansas, during the Civil War, had got itself a reputation for being very supportive of the movement to free black Americans. So Kansas was considered to be a good place to move towards because they knew that Kansas was against slavery. The P, the promise of free land, starting afresh. Here's the pull factor. Wow, if we leave the South and move to Kansas, we can start a new life because we've got the free land promised to us. The Homestead Act, 1862, 160 acres if you farmed it for 5 years. We've done that before, ladies and gentlemen. And the final one, where the name comes from, Exoduster, Exodus. Now, Exodus is a book in the Bible, ladies and gentlemen. And Exodus, it's where we get our word exit from. It means to move away, to escape. And in the Bible, group of people, the Jews, escape from Egypt. Exodus. The black Americans knew their Bible. And they thought, well, if we move to Kansas, God will look after us. We will make our escape, our departure, our exodus, which is why they were called Exodusters. So that's why the people moved. What about the impact, the consequences? Well, over 43,000 black Americans moved to Kansas, staying in an area of about 80 square kilometers. New towns, new settlements were set up, for example, one called Nicodemus. Now, the early white settlers, they'd taken all the best land in Kansas. The black settlers, the Exodusters, they were late to arrive, so their quality of land wasn't as good. They had to go more upland, lower quality. They needed help. It wasn't very organised. It wasn't very planned. They thought the land was free, but it wasn't. It wasn't free land, ladies and gentlemen, even though they thought that was what was promised. So things were a little bit more difficult than they had anticipated. Maybe they're not going to get such a good life. They had to cross states to get to Kansas, of course, where there were some quite terrible diseases. One, for example, yellow fever. Many people got ill. Now, the federal government did offer some financial help to move, but it was still a difficult journey. I apologise. Now, what about back in the southern states? The white people weren't very happy because they were losing a lot of their workers. Some of the white people in Kansas weren't very happy and they weren't very welcoming to the black people. So it's a bit of a tricky situation. Finally, as I've just suggested, life in Kansas wasn't that easy. Well, word soon went back to the southern states about the reality of how tough it was in Kansas. Yes, it was better than the southern states, but it wasn't particularly easy. It wasn't a land of milk and honey, ladies and gentlemen. So the Exoduster movement also led to continued settlement. And what about the last one? The Oklahoma land rush. Now, what's that, you say? Where do eggs go on their holiday? I don't know. Well, you should do, because they go to Oklahoma. Dearie me, sorry. Now, what's this all about? The Oklahoma land rush. Let's go back 60 years, 1830, the Indian Territory, land that was set aside by the government for Indian tribes, different sections for different tribes. Territory where the white settlers could not go, and sometimes even the US Army would move the white settlers off. Even the bit in the middle, which wasn't given to any particular tribe. But then things changed. Let's move forward. 12 noon on the 22nd of April, 1889. The government had decided to open up huge amounts of land, very fertile land. And if you staked a claim for this land, you could get 160 acres. Thousands and thousands of people wanted this land. So basically, it was just like a race. It was called a land rush. And at 12 midday on that date, 22nd of April, on your marks, get set, go! And they just fired guns into the air and they dropped their flags like at the start of a race. And people sounded the bugle, da, 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 and they all charged forward on horses and wagons, trying to get to this land where they would stake a claim and say, this is my land. The Oklahoma Land Rush, a big race to claim land. 1889, 2 million acres in Oklahoma was up for sale to claim. 1893, another land rush known as the Cherokee Strip, 8 million acres. The last one in 1895, just 88,000 acres. The rest had already been taken. Yet again, the Indians have lost their land. The government has broken its promise. And this caused a huge amount of continued settlement. People were so desperate to get the land that many cheated. Many jumped the gun. Many had sneaked in early or left early. They'd gone sooner. And even today, Oklahoma is nicknamed the Sooner State after the people who cheated in the Oklahoma Land Rush. So there we see, ladies and gentlemen, the continued settlement through the 1870s, 1880s, 1890s. America was settling the centre, the Great Plains. More and more people move there. So, I hope it's been useful. Next video, as more and more people move, is there going to be some problems with law and order? Next video, 2 key men, Billy the Kid, Wyatt Earp. As ever, I hope it's been useful. Hope to see you soon. Bye now.